Welcome back to DSS IDSEC 2019. I'm here with Chester Wisniewski, and he's representing Sophos. Tell us a little bit about yourself and the company that you represent, and also, of course, the position you take.
Yeah, I'm a principal research scientist at Sophos, so it's kind of a bit of an unusual job in our business. Most of our people are busy building products and developing protection for our customers that use our solutions, and my team kind of sits alongside that or a little bit outside of it, looking at the big picture, trying to understand how the threat landscape is changing, how those things are impacting the companies and the individuals that we're responsible for protecting, and then doing things like today, talking with you, trying to share that information with the public here at the event, and in videos like this, and also to help our product teams, of course, make sure that we're staying on top of those things and we're able to continue to protect our clients and our customers. So, Sophos, we're a 30-plus-year-old. We were known as an antivirus company for a long time. We started antivirus in the 1980s. And now...
A different name or same name?
Oh, same name. We're British, didn't have a lot of brand recognition outside of certain markets where we had a big presence. And then as we've grown into a bigger and bigger global company, we now offer a lot more security solutions than just antivirus and operate globally. So I've been actually here in Europe for a couple of weeks now, coming to events, meeting with some of our researchers that are based in Hungary and in the UK and learning from them. And primarily our job is... enterprise only. We're just focused on protecting businesses, and we do firewalls, encryption, endpoint security, mobile solutions, pretty much anything a business needs to protect their information and try to keep the bad guys out.
Okay. Well, what about Riga? Have you ever been?
I've not. This is my first trip to Riga. I traveled pretty extensively, and it was kind of
fun
to go somewhere new.
Yeah.
Oh, the weather this morning felt like I'm from Vancouver, Canada, and it was definitely Vancouver this morning. It was 12 and wet, but it wasn't exactly raining.
Yeah.
It was like if you stood still, you didn't think it rained, but if you moved, you got wet. It felt like home.
Okay, good. How did you decide to participate in DSS IDSEC? I mean, how did you hear about this, first of all?
Well, I think my company's been participating for a while, and this year I was invited. I think it was related. I actually did some talks back in June in London, and I think some of the organizers, some other people saw the talk I had given there and thought, hey, that'd be great if you could come and speak at our event. So being that we were already participants, I just managed to work through our local team here in the Baltics to say, hey, if we're doing this, I'm going to be in the region. I was at some stuff I was in London, Estonia, and Germany this trip. I've been all over the place. So like, hey, I'm going to be in Europe. This would be great. So this is the end of my trip, and it was fun coming to a new place and getting to participate in another type of event.
So you're from Vancouver, so I guess you have to schedule it as a longer trip to visit several places.
Oh yeah. This trip for me is 23 days right now.
How long is the flight?
It's not too bad. It's about 10 hours to Frankfurt, and then another couple hours to come up here. So it's about 12. Which sounds like a lot for a lot of people, but next week I'm going to Australia, and that'll be 23 hours for me to get to Perth. So 12, it's not so bad.
Okay, well, glad to have you here. In your opinion, most critical vulnerabilities and security challenges that we face in everyday life, and I'm not just talking about a corporate level, but also everyday life, because we're all connected now, we're all mobile, we all have our smart devices everywhere, obviously. What's in your opinion is the most critical aspect of this massive field of IT security?
I think
cybersecurity.
I think the thing that got a little left behind that's causing us all kinds of different pain in all different parts of society is identity. The idea of identity up until 10 years ago certainly wasn't an email address or something silly like that, right? I mean, identity was based on real world attributes about us. If we needed to prove who we were to a bank, we would use our birth date and maybe the city and country or state we were born in, and some very basic documentation, and because we still think of that as identity, criminals are able to abuse that massively, right? And online, there's really no way to prove that identity. It's if I send you a WhatsApp message or a text message, It could be, was my phone stolen? Was it me? Was it somebody that hijacked the SIM card and put it on their phone? You have no way to know if it's really me on the other end, and there's really no verification method that we have. And so this is getting abused in many, many different ways all over the place. You know, you think about a big scam hitting businesses, business email compromise, where they get tricked into wire transferring money to criminals instead of to a legitimate company to pay them. They're able to do that by just hacking into someone's email and sending real emails from the real email account of the person. How would a person, you know, verify that that's a criminal or the real person? We don't have any tools for this. And the same thing I think is happening in real life, in that a lot of the scams that are hitting individuals at their homes on their computers and their phones and things, whether it's ransom scams or romance scams, all these different financial things. In general, they almost always start with some sort of social engineering, some sort of tricking you into believing that they're your bank, they're Apple, they're your friend because they hijacked their Facebook account and started sending you Facebook Messenger messages. But in all of those cases, it's a case of mistaken identity. You can't electronically know that who you're talking to is who they say they are. And that allows the scam to get traction. And sometimes that's malware they want to put on your computer. Sometimes they're just trying to trick you into giving them some money. It doesn't really matter, though, because the root of the problem is we're not able to identify the other person. And that's what really concerns me, because these are very tricky things for most people to get their head around, because it's such a technologically complicated thing to do correctly. To verify someone's identity online is possible. It's just very hard. You have to know so much, and regular everyday people just don't know it.
Do you have a solution for this problem?
If I did, I would probably have a startup in California right now. I'd be sitting on my billion-dollar pile of cash, and I'd have an app. But I mean, one solution to it is by having these conversations. Yeah. Like today in my talks here at the event, I talked a bit about things we should be doing as business processes to prevent businesses from mistaken identity fraud. And we need to get the word out to the public that these kinds of things are happening, and that when passwords or financial information or things related to our well-being or our health are involved, we shouldn't trust the machine. We should always verify it in some manner. And so, because you don't want to make life complicated for people. No matter what you do, you need to do 5 things every time you do something, because it's too hard. But if we know it's only when somebody's asking us for money, or asking us to change an account number, or telling us that some fraud has been perpetrated against us and we need to take some action, those are the lures that the criminals are using to get people to panic and do something. Yeah. So if we can say only in those cases, if it says it's your bank, just don't respond online, pick up the phone, call the number on the back of your bank card, find out if it's your bank. And that happens rarely enough that it's not a big burden for us to have to verify it, right? Because we're trying to make it, people are too trustworthy. We actually like each other, believe it or not. Despite the way we behave in society on television, we actually do trust one another. And the criminals are exploiting that. And we don't want to make people paranoid, because we still want to use all these cool new things. Yeah, but sometimes if it just feels a little bit off, it's almost always really off. It's like you detect it, but you want to think better of it, so you override your best instincts. Yes. Don't override your best instincts.
Okay, that actually brings me to my next question about the speech that you prepared. Tell us a little, or was this?
No. I mean, this is sort of part of it, but well, I had 2 talks here, and the talk I did on the main stage this morning was largely about sort of the trends that we're seeing, analyzing the large volumes of data we get to see in our labs. This is another challenge, is I think most people in businesses are making their decisions about what risks are present to them by what they read in online publications and what they hear from their friends or colleagues at other companies in the area that they live in. And the second one's actually quite good. Listening to things that happen to people you know through your networks, your professional networks, is a really good thing. But the first part, listening to the media as a source, sadly, in info security, I think is a bad thing. And I'm not trying to pick on the media per se, because it's one of my jobs to talk to press a lot. But the media want to publish things that are interesting and new and fun or sexy. They don't want to publish the things that happen for the 10,000th time to somebody, because it's just not interesting. None of us want to read negative things, and none of us want to read things that we were told a month ago and 3 months ago and a year ago. The problem, of course, is that leads people to believe that those things aren't a problem. They're not hearing about them, so they don't know about them, so they don't prepare to defend themselves. So my talk was sort of going, here's what we've seen the last 5 years that you're all struggling with, and here's what we're seeing right now. And I suspect some of the people in the audience were still more worried about what had happened, and they hadn't even necessarily caught up to where we are right now. And then based on this trend and the data I see in our research in our lab, here's where I think we're going to end up in 2020, the near future. So if you're not ready for that now, or if you're not even ready for what's going on now, make sure you're focused here, not back here with what was happening yesterday, because most people are driven by responding to things that happen to them as opposed to trying to prepare for the next thing. It's very difficult to look forward. But we think it's really important because the types of attacks that were common even 3 years ago almost are non-existent today. And if you're spending all of your time preparing for that, you're missing the new stuff, right? So I was trying to give some perspective of what we're seeing there, and a lot of some of that is the social stuff that we just talked about, but a lot of it is also the tactics, right? Endpoint computers, our laptops and our PCs and our phones, was the primary entry point and the primary area where somebody could make a mistake and allow something bad to come into a business. And that was where all the focus for the criminals was for like 10 years. They stopped. They haven't stopped entirely, but they slowed down. They're not really focusing on it anymore. They realized that we really started securing our laptops really well because they were being ripped off left and right. They moved to the servers where we're not protecting them. The servers aren't nearly as well protected, and it's kind of strange. You think, wow, it's a really important asset. You'd think you'd protect it. It's also an asset that if it's down, the entire company stops working. It's also an asset that if it slows down, everybody at the company slows down in their ability to do their job. We've all been at the airline check-in counter and they're going, oh, the computer's slow today. It has a real impact on business, right? So I don't want to put security software on that server because it's going to slow it down. There's fear. And that's going to slow my business down. It's going to cost us money. It's going to cost us customer satisfaction. If we're an e-commerce company and something breaks, we can't sell anything. So we don't want to touch it but once a year, or certainly not around Christmas, right? We're going to sell all this stuff. We can't turn it off. So these are sensible policies, but as human beings, we're bad at risk management and understanding those servers are also, because of that criticality, the first thing that those guys want to ransom. Because they only have to ransom one machine and they can demand millions of euros because your whole company stops if that machine's not working. So maybe if it was 10% slower, that might be better than having it held for ransom by criminals for €1 million. That's the decision you're really having to make. So I was trying to raise some awareness about hopefully getting more organizations to look at how they're managing their security risk around their servers and understanding that the criminals have changed to prefer that as an attack method now. So it's not, you shouldn't protect your laptops, but I would be investing more of my effort looking in this direction because this is the attack that's going to hit you tomorrow and probably next week. And based on the trends we've seen from the past, I'm suspecting this will be a thing for the next couple of years.
Okay. So where does your company come in this scenario?
Well, they pay me money to do all this stuff, which is really cool because I like looking into it. But I guess we make money by selling stuff to other people who then give them the money to pay me. And we do that in many different ways. And clearly all of this information I'm getting is based on the research that we're doing in order to build those products that help solve these problems for our customers. And certainly we've had an effort in the last couple of years to not just be building world-class endpoint security software, which depending on which vendor you talk to, you get lots of different definitions of what that is. But we used to call it antivirus, and then for a while it was next generation antivirus. And now all of us, I think, have settled on next generation endpoint security. Whatever the marketing people came up with, it's on all the banners out there. But obviously we provide protection for servers and endpoints and all that kind of thing in that space. We also are now starting to provide a lot more services around this. So we have, in addition to endpoint detection and response, which is very popular right now, we're now also offering our own managed detection and response service. So our experts who work with our lab analysts who truly understand how all these threats work when they're researching them all day are now available as a service to clients to go, we can come onto your network and help check whether you've missed some of the stuff and it's out there and it's causing you harm. We can check your policies to see if you're in a position to better defend against those things, and if not, provide you with advice on how to better secure those things against the threats we're seeing today. And because these guys are doing threat response every day with the current set of threats, they're a really great way for clients to be able to bring their whole IT team up to speed with a little bit of consultancy can come in and bring you up to date on what's going on the last year and get everybody thinking in the mindset of the current attack landscape.
There's a lot going on. I mean, you have to be very, very, very knowledgeable, and a normal tech guy could never, comprehend everything that is happening.
If I had a real day job and didn't have so much time on airplanes with internet where I can sit and read white papers and follow the Twitter security experts and read blogs, and if I didn't have that forced spare time on my hands of my 12-hour flight to come visit you, that's how I keep up to date. And many of our people struggle just like anyone else, and it's I think that's one of the most daunting challenges, right? It's not something that you can just read the trade press for an hour a month and go, right, I know what's happening. It's very fast moving.
Okay, thank you. Let's say that I have no idea about anything. Well, that's quite true, but I'm not connected to IT in any sort. I'm just an end user. And I have my phone, I have my laptop, I have my smart kitchen, for example, my smart house, or as we can see, it's coming and coming. What do you think is the most critical solution for me to protect myself as a normal, everyday guy? And what do you think would be the ultimate solution for regular people that are not into IT, but to be confident that their information is secure, that their device is secure, that it's the ultimate question, obviously, because scams do keep happening. But what is your suggestion to this ordinary person who just wants to feel safe,
Yeah, well, I think there's two primary things for people to do themselves that doesn't require others to do it on their behalf, or, because obviously people building better products that are more secure mean that you don't have to worry about them, and that pressure is on vendors and the people selling you things, although consumers play a role in that. When you go to the shop and you're like, I want a smart house, I decided I want smart lights for I have a smart light in my bedroom because my light switch is in an inconvenient spot when it's cold in the wintertime for me to get up and turn it off after I'm reading my book. And I'm like, I want to talk to the light and not have to get out of my warm, cozy bed and have to get up and go push the button on the other side of the room, right? But when you're at the shop and you're seeing the box for €12.95, $19.95, and then you see the Philips Hue and it's $49.95, there's a reason. They're not just charging you more. They are just charging you more a little bit. Sort of like Apple. I mean, is an iPhone really any better? Well, I don't know. It's $300 more. It must be better. But there's also more likely to be more security and more privacy and more money and time spent on those efforts, right? And certainly my testing in IoT devices, smart devices, has borne that out. When I test brand name stuff, it's very hard to find flaws. I can sometimes, but when I do, the vendor is incredibly responsive to making it fixed. And the cheap things, I can't even figure out who made it. I can't even tell them it's broken, and it's very easy to break. So consumers can make choices that way. Look for reviews from credible places online when you're making purchases of smart things.
Quality product.
For a quality of the product. Because if the quality of the product itself is good, it's likely the quality of the software engineering is probably better as well. The two main things for people are when you get that pop-up on your screen of your phone and your laptop telling you there's an update, do the update. Like, it's okay to wait an hour. It's okay to even wait till the end of the day if you're in the middle of important work and you don't want to restart Office or whatever it is that's in your way. But don't wait till the next day. Like, every 1 hour of opportunity, criminals are taking advantage of that stuff. And if it's as simple as just pushing that button saying restart, go make a cup of tea. By the time you get back, it'll be done, and you'll feel better about it and you'll be safer. And the primary thing, which is the hardest thing for consumers or individuals, is passwords. They have to be different. And for important things, they have to be long. They don't need to have 10 emojis and a $sign. And like, the old advice is a little too hard. I don't think most people can or will do that. And I don't know that it's important. Length does matter, though.
Of course, yeah.
A 12-character password sounds good, but you can break it on an iPhone in under an hour. That's not even a real computer. But you get to like 16 characters and you're talking about thousands of years. It's just that few extra characters because it's exponential. So that length does matter. So use 4 words. Don't use 1 word with 3 numbers after it.
Yeah.
Make it a phrase. Just
Yeah.
get that length if you can get that length, especially for important things, your retirement, your pension, your finances, those things. If you're techie, use a password manager.
Yeah, of course.
If you're not techie, maybe that doesn't work for you. My parents are very elderly. They can't use a password manager, and I'm so worried about their safety online. So I write them down in a book. It's okay to write them down in a book. Nobody breaks into your house to steal your password book. It doesn't happen, right? So we have to apply reasonable risk to individuals to go, you don't have the nuclear launch codes, so we don't need to go crazy with 32 characters and symbols and you have to memorize it. Make it something that you can do, but do it, right? Find a way to have unique passwords because criminals are stealing them and reusing them all over the place, and that's what's causing a lot of harm to individuals. And if you can do that, you're way ahead of everybody else and you're going to probably have a much more enjoyable time online.
Very satisfying answer. Thank you, sir. About coming back to your company, what's for the future? What's on the roadmap? What's the vision for the future?
Well, we've invested a lot in both people and artificial intelligence stuff in the last couple of years, and I think that's going to guide a lot of what's coming down the road. The key to this is the volumes of attacks, because people can write programs to do the attacks, just keep increasing. It doesn't mean they're successful, but the quantity of things is just noise. It's very hard to find the signal that's really important inside of all that noise. So we're starting to leverage machines more and more and more to augment or help the humans. It's not that the machines replace the humans, it's to allow the humans to be more effective. Where we used to have a lot of jobs in our lab where you just had to analyze files all day and go, yep, that one's bad, that one's bad, that one's bad. Yes, this website should be blocked. It's terrible work. Humans hate it. They get bored of it. They get tired. Their job satisfaction's low. We can automate that stuff. What I want to know is these things that are ambiguous. I mean, obviously this thing with naked women on it is probably classified as offensive adult material in a business. I don't need a human to have to sit there all day and go, yep, that one, yep, that one. Like if I can have a machine do that, that's much better. But there's a lot of ambiguous things out there that we need human intelligence to do. And it's much more rewarding to do something that involves your intellect, and you actually have to make a judgment, and it's something we can't automate. So we're looking at how many things can we automate to get rid of all the monotony of the daily work that many of our analysts have to do, and then with the human power that we free up, what can we do to do much more predictive analysis in each product area? So, can we detect a malicious website when we've never seen it? And how do we take that and put it in your phone, right? I don't want to use your battery. If I put something on your phone that uses your battery to protect you, you're probably going to take it off because nobody wants their battery to die 2 hours earlier. So how can I effectively use machine learning to have a small memory footprint to put it on your phone so you get the same protection while you're sitting here with me that you have when you're sitting at your desk? So I think we're just looking for lots of ways to exploit the human power that we're freeing up by the use of automation from the machine technology that we're using.
Thank you. Well, overall, this is everything. I would like to ask you, how do you enjoy the conference?
It's been good, and my favorite part is when I'm not speaking and I'm
yeah.
standing over at our sponsor table. Or
do you have a chance to mingle around, browse around a little vendors?
Well, this is the reason, right? Yeah. Like, it's when the people who were in your talk that were maybe too embarrassed to ask a question during the talk, or they want to share a story, or they want to ask you something personal. They come up to you while you're having the coffee during the break, and you get the conversations from people that are living it every day instead of just doing research on it like me. So that to me is the best value in an event like this, is being able to have some one-on-one time with the participants to hear their concerns, their wins, their fails, all of it, right? Because I get to take what they've learned and share it with the world when I get to speak at the next event. And that's how we get better at this. We share where we're winning and where we're losing so we can all improve.
Also, one last question. Do you believe that end users should be more educated in all the vulnerability risks? For example, a conference like this with all the information that is gathered here this year, for example, do you think an everyday person should be able to step into a place like this and find out all the information, besides the fact that they're probably going to be bored and they won't understand anything? But do you think that end users should be more educated, or do you think that the solutions protecting the end users should be more advanced than the education of the.
I mean, awareness is important. Understanding what threats are so that you can try to be smart about how to protect yourself is always helpful. I'm not sure if it's necessarily through a venue like this event or not, where we're much more technical, I think, than the average person necessarily would benefit from. But certainly raising awareness, I don't know if it's education or if it's awareness when we're talking about the end. I think it's our responsibility to build systems that are safe to use. And my mom and my cousin and my dad should not have to worry about this.
Yeah,
and I want them to know that people might call them on the phone pretending to be the tax authority and scam them out of some money. I want to raise their awareness about things that we know are happening that put them at risk. But I just want them to use their phone. I just want them to use the app and use the computer and not have to worry about it. Like, I think it's our responsibility to stop building overly complex systems that require me to train you on them. They should work. And we have a responsibility to the people using our products to try to make them as safe and private as possible. And in a business environment, it's a little different in that, security awareness is something a lot of companies do. And a culture of security makes a huge difference in a business's security. The idea that if one person knows it's wrong, they can sort of alert the rest of the herd that there's a wolf among us is very helpful, right? So encouraging staff to participate in security and be a part of a program is really helpful. But for the average person in the real world, when they're not at work, I think we have more responsibility to do a better job so they don't have to worry about it.
Okay. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you.
It's been a pleasure talking to you. I hope you enjoyed the rest of the day.
Yeah, I'm going to go pack my bag. I'm super excited. I get to go home for a couple days. So, not that I didn't enjoy my trip here, but after being away for 3 weeks,
Thank you very much.
I'm ready.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Cheers.